Tracking the tropics, the threat to the Gulf Coast, and what you need to know before your head hits the pillow tonight. Fall football is back. What local schools are doing to keep your children safe on the field and in the stands. Fearing health.
We see a lot more morbidity down the road.
Why avoiding routine doctor visits could cost you your life. NBC 15 News at 10 starts now. We began tonight tracking the tropics. We're keeping a close eye on two tropical depressions that are headed toward the Gulf. NBC 15 Chief Meteorologist Alan Seals has the latest track and what this could mean for us.
Right now, we are watching much more closely. A few things haven't changed much, like the current position, Tropical Depression number 14, right off of Nicaragua and Honduras. But what has changed for both systems is the forecast cone in terms of wind speed and the 5-day portion. Notice in the next several days it becomes a tropical storm after briefly making landfall, maybe twice before getting into the Gulf of Mexico. Now into the Gulf, this is Tropical Depression number 14. Notice at the end of the 5-day forecast cone, winds now projected at hurricane strength. That would be by Tuesday evening, somewhere along the Texas coast or the Louisiana coast. So that's number 14. The other system, Tropical Depression number 13, still out in the Atlantic. It has not yet impacted the Caribbean with winds just 35 miles an hour. But the forecast track hasn't changed, at least for the first portion. Note the winds going to 50 miles an hour by Saturday, 65 by Sunday. Then on Monday, winds going to hurricane force as it approaches South Florida or potentially passes between Florida and Cuba and then continues on that northwest track. The other subtle change from earlier this evening, by 7 p.m. Tuesday, the forecast cone does cover about half of the NBC 15 area. Now keep in mind, what this says exactly is at 7 o'clock Tuesday evening, a perfect forecast would put the center close to Apalachicola. If the storm comes in faster, it could be inland. If it slows down, it could still be back out closer to Tampa than to Mobile. So these are the subtle changes, and this means we just have to start watching this much more closely as we move through the weekend. So the main message is stay aware of what's going on. Make sure you are pre-planning what you need to do in case a tropical storm directly comes here or even a hurricane, and we're still going to see some subtle changes as we look through the next couple of days. In the next couple of days, more rain. We have low pressure over our region, but it's not a tropical low. I'll talk more about that forecast in just a few minutes.
All right, Alan, chances are you've seen these spaghetti plots on social media charting potential paths for these two tropical depressions. Within the past few days, the suggested paths have changed significantly, and that's why our team's goal is to alert, not scare. Jason Beeman with the National Weather Service Mobile says it's been at least 20 years since two simultaneous named storms were in the Gulf at the same time.
2020 has been stressful enough for all of us. So let's make sure we all have a plan in place should a storm come our way.
You can stay weather aware on the go by downloading our NBC 15 weather app. It is free and easy to use. Just search WPMI in your app store. Breaking news now at 10. A Foley High School teacher is sitting in the Baldwin County Jail right now. 46-year-old Christopher Bridges was arrested today and charged with possession of obscene material. This after deputies executed a search warrant at his apartment in Gulf Shores yesterday. Baldwin County Superintendent Eddie Tyler released a statement tonight saying, "We have been made aware of the arrest. Mr. Bridges has been placed on administrative leave. We are in contact with the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office and cannot speak further on the employee matter at this time." Bridges' school profile says he's been teaching at Foley High School for 20 years. Tonight, he is being held without bond. On the path forward tonight, Friday Night Lights are back on a Thursday. The first round of high school football games kicked off on both sides of the bay tonight. We have team coverage. First, we go to NBC 15's Corey Pippen. He's at Ladd Peoples Stadium where Williamson and LaFleur took to the field.
Kim, most people were very aware of the health safety measures in place at tonight's game, and with social distancing and masks required, it was anything but a normal kickoff. High school football in Mobile County is back tonight amid a pandemic. And while the gridiron action looks the same in the stands, game day not only looks different, it feels different.
The mask is something new to get, can't breathe in hardly. It's not going to be crowded as normal. So it's most definitely different.
Jasmine Tucker's son plays for LaFleur High School, which took on Williamson at Lead Peoples Stadium. She cheered him on from designated bleachers, limited to 5 people from the same household.
I'm very excited because I was wondering, was we going to be able to come in today? By me being a proud parent and #1 fan, I want to be here.
Please do not sit in any seat with red tape.
Red tape marked many bleachers throughout the stadium, which were off limits to allow at least 6 feet between fans. Most spectators wore masks, although many admit it wasn't always comfortable.
We're going to be extra hot, but because of what's going on, I think it'll be survivable.
Mobile County health officials say the guidelines are especially important at football games because of how easily the virus could spread. School officials believe most people will follow the rules.
They want to see their children play. They want to see our schools in action again, and so they're excited to be out here and to get some sense of normalcy.
Just being able to be outside and enjoy, a live game is some kind of normalcy.
Quarterback sacked on the play.
Now, no concessions were sold tonight other than bottled water. I'm told bands will be allowed to play halftime shows at future games, but social distancing will also be required. Reporting live in Mobile tonight, I'm Corey Pippin, NBC 15 News.
Corey, thank you. As players get back to the gridiron, they are not just facing dangerous tackles, they're facing the possibility of spreading coronavirus on the field. NBC 15's Colin Cahill is in Baldwin County tonight, where those athletes went one-on-one for the first time since the pandemic began. Colin?
That's right, Kim. The 2020 high school football season got kicked off tonight with plenty of new rules and protocols to help protect these athletes. But there's still plenty of risks being taken out on the football field. High school football is giving players the chance to return to a little bit of normalcy during the coronavirus era. As the games get started this weekend, preventing the spread of the virus is the #1 priority. So before the pads go on, temperatures have to be taken and any possible symptoms monitored.
From all summer long, with us recording temperatures and monitoring the kids constantly to make sure that they're healthy when they report to us every single morning.
Social distancing is hard to do when playing contact sports, and so is wearing a mask. Those are the 2 biggest things the CDC says we can do to prevent the spread of COVID-19.
The more contact you come into with an opposing player, and if you're face mask to face mask and you're swapping spit, that is a big source of potential transmission.
So while following protocols and monitoring the pandemic has given teams across the state the chance to play this fall, there's still plenty of risks that the players are taking.
We also don't know what's going to happen when we have a 300-pound lineman with potentially other underlying conditions, such as an enlarged heart, being infected with COVID-19.
So as the pads pop and the helmets clash, players on both teams put themselves at risk to injury during every play. Athletic trainers are on the sidelines for quick response, but during a pandemic, sideline medical care has spiked.
We will have extra coaches on the sideline to help monitor the kids and spread them out from the 10 to the 10 and make sure they have their mask on and to follow those guidelines. So when it comes to the risk and the reward of playing the game this season, we talked to Fairhope head coach Tim Carter today, and he says that we can't live in fear when it comes to playing this game. Reporting in Fairhope, Colin Cahill, NBC 15 News.
Colin, thank you. Now, tomorrow night, the return of Friday Night Rivals. Our crews are heading over to UMS Wright for the game between Baker and the Bulldogs. Tune into our sister station, UTV 44, Friday night at 7. Well, tonight, hundreds of Baldwin County families have decided to ditch virtual school and go back to traditional learning. The reason for parents taking their kids out of virtual school vary. One mom says there are too many distractions in her household, and she's been struggling to keep her kids on task.
I know my strengths, and homeschooling my 3 children is just not one of those strengths.
The deadline to pull out of virtual school is August 27th. NBC 15 is committed to keeping you in the know when it comes to the coronavirus pandemic. For the very latest updates, visit our website. We have an entire section dedicated to COVID-19 news.
And just grabbed her by the waist and I snatched out the window.
You may remember this viral video of this man, Quinn Parrish, rescuing a woman from a burning apartment building 3 months ago. Flames tore through Serenity Apartments in Mobile, displacing several families. Parrish earned the title Hometown Hero. Now the father of four says he has fallen on hard times because of the pandemic.
Right now, it is kind of, got rent to be paid, bills got to be paid, kids got to eat.
Though Parrish is in a tough spot, he says he'll risk his life again to save someone else's. The final night of the Democratic National Convention has come to a close. Headliners included Andrew Yang, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, Senator Cory Booker, Pete Buttigieg, and former Vice President Joe Biden as he formally accepted the Democratic nomination for president.
So it's a great honor and humility. I accept this nomination for President of the United States. This campaign isn't just about winning votes. It's about winning the heart and, yes, the soul of America.
We will stream the Republican National Convention on our website at mynbc15.com starting each night at 8 p.m. Make sure to also follow us on social media for all of our live events. In the heat of the night, parts of California are plagued by fires. Lightning strikes are blamed for causing hundreds of infernos.
The two tropical depressions will become tropical storms. They will get into the Gulf. They both might even become hurricanes. I've got all that in your forecast.
You're watching NBC 15 News, winner of the Regional Edward R. Murrow Overall Excellence Award. Salute to our veterans. Sponsored by Navigator Credit Union, guiding the Gulf Coast since 1939.
Tonight, we honor Colonel Don Carmichael, who served in the U.S. Army. During his career, he served during World War II, the Korean War, and Vietnam. He's from Loxley. Thank you for your service, Colonel Don Carmichael. Happening right now, parts of California are plagued by fires as flames continue to surge and no relief is in sight. Several fires sparked by lightning strikes have turned the state into a patchwork of infernos. Thousands are under evacuation orders, and there's more to come. It's been fire after fire, along with brutal heat and strong winds. Tonight, a homicide investigation is underway in Chickasaw. This is the home on Blackfoot Street. Police were investigating this morning. Officials confirm the victim is a woman. Police say there are no suspects at this time. Tomorrow, former Pritchard Chief of Staff James Blackman is set to be sentenced in federal court. He pleaded guilty to 2 counts of theft of public funds and money laundering back in February. Blackman faces up to 10 years on both charges. He is set for sentencing in state court next month. New data from the Mayo Clinic shows nearly 30% of people are avoiding medical care because of coronavirus. Josie Sturman looks at how often people are delaying care, including the routine screenings that could save their lives. That's in this Spotlight on America.
In-person class may only happen 2 days a week for 14-year-old Griffin Weeks, but soccer practice never stops.
I told her I was having trouble breathing again when I was outside running.
He walked through the door and he was wheezing pretty badly.
When a training run sent Griffin home with breathing problems, his mom, Renee, knew it couldn't wait. She immediately called their family doctor, hoping he could be seen quickly and avoid a trip to the ER during the coronavirus crisis.
The thought of having to walk into a doctor's office is bad enough, but having to walk into an emergency room is obviously a lot scarier.
They were lucky. Telemedicine kept them out of both. But doctors say COVID-19 continues to be a reason people across the U.S. are avoiding the emergency room.
Across the nation, if not the world, we've seen a big drop-off in volumes.
Dr. Chirag Chaudhry, an emergency physician with the University of Maryland Medical System, says visits to its ER at the Baltimore Washington Medical Center were down 50 to 60% during the height of the pandemic, a trend we found echoed coast to coast.
Covenant Hospital in Saginaw, they're seeing about a 50% decrease.
They're seeing a dramatic decrease of other illnesses in the ER.
Central Texas doctors say people are avoiding hospitals.
The American Hospital Association estimates hospitals nationwide could lose $161 billion in revenue during this crisis, thanks to fewer ER visits, canceled surgeries, and outpatient treatment.
Initially, we thought, it's great that, just the sickest patients are coming in and, patients maybe with not so serious conditions are staying home, but we quickly found that wasn't the case.
Instead, people with heart attacks, strokes, and other life-threatening conditions have been staying home with tragic results. CDC data shows deaths from heart disease and other non-COVID causes were up this spring compared to last year. Chaudhry says they've seen patients wait days to come in, letting conditions progress in a way they never would have considered before coronavirus.
We see a lot more morbidity down the road from patients potentially delaying, really serious conditions.
New data from the Epic Health Research Network also showed routine screenings for breast, colon, and cervical cancer are also down drastically, as much as 86 to 94% as a result of the pandemic.
What will be the difference maker to get people back into the hospital?
Hospitals across the country have taken precautions. They've changed their policies and their protocols so that we're able to care safely for all patients that come to the emergency department. The emergency room now more than ever is the safety net for the country.
A safety net that stands ready to serve people like the Weeks family.
And had I had to have taken him to the emergency room, I certainly would have. I would not have delayed it for myself or anybody else in my family. If we have to go, we're going to go.
I'm Josie Sturman for Spotlight on America.
NBC 15 weather with Chief Meteorologist Alan Seals, winner of the AMS Broadcast Meteorology Award.
Stay aware and stay updated to what's going on in the tropics. 2 tropical depressions each will get into the Gulf of Mexico as a tropical storm and maybe even a hurricane as we move beyond the weekend going into early next week. The latest data, they both are not very strong, 35-mile-an-hour winds. One's in the central Atlantic, the other one pretty much on the coast of Nicaragua, Honduras, where it will make a second landfall on the Yucatan Peninsula. These are forecast projections of the center of low pressure from multiple computer models. The fact that they are all clustered together tells you that that is a very likely scenario. Now, don't forget, day by day, the models, the data will change. So right now, the projection I give you will be updated again tomorrow. The forecast cone, which includes your wind speed, takes the first system into the Gulf as a tropical storm Sunday, 60-mile-an-hour winds going into Monday, approaching the coast of Texas and potentially picking up winds 75 miles an hour. So either of these could make landfall, and obviously this one catches your eye. Either can make landfall as a hurricane. And don't forget that even though the forecast cone is just for the center of the storm, that's hard enough. To figure out that wind is even more difficult. So you need to start thinking about the possibility of a hurricane coming here in our worst case scenario. It has been a very active hurricane season, many tropical storms. Cristobal in the Gulf, of course, Isaias was the one that at first was threatening Florida and then fortunately took a little more turn toward the east. Go back though in time because people asked me a bunch of questions today about have there ever been 2 hurricanes or tropical storms in the Gulf at the same time? The answer is yes. 1933, 2 that made landfall. That's courtesy of Dr. Phil Klotzbach at the Colorado State University. He's the one that does those long-range climate and hurricane predictions. Go back to 2017. An answer to another question I had, can 2 tropical storms merge? No. Only in Hollywood do they merge. This was 2 in the Pacific Ocean. When they get close to each other, because they're both spinning so fast, they begin to circulate around each other slowly, but they don't merge, they don't cancel each other out. Another question I had, this is this evening's forecast map, and I know it's really complicated. There's Hurricane Genevieve. Here we are right here. Go back 16 days ago. Somebody asked me if this is a good forecast. Now you know the answer. That was a hurricane projected here 16 days ago. And in the Gulf of Mexico, 16 days ago. Didn't happen. 10 days ago, the computer model erased that and sort of disappeared with Genevieve. And then 5 days ago, there's Genevieve, and there you see the map we have right now. So those long-range forecast maps, they aren't as good as you think, just like forecasting hurricanes. You've got to get really close to have detail. Tomorrow, we have a marginal risk of seeing some strong or severe thunderstorms. Tonight, like last night, along the coast, could be some thunderstorms and lightning continuing. That's how we start tomorrow morning. And much like today, it'll be periods of rain and thunderstorms tomorrow. It won't rain all day. It won't rain everywhere. But be prepared for a wet Friday and Saturday and Sunday and Monday. Here's your 7-day tracker. And our big question mark becomes Tuesday and Wednesday. Will there be a tropical storm or hurricane right here, right then? We're still pretty far out. Make sure you pre-plan and keep up with our forecasts.
NBC 15 Ultimate Alabama Athlete. Sponsored by Gulf Coast BMW Centers. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Today's ultimate athlete is Andy Phillips. Phillips is from Demopolis. He played his college baseball at Alabama. He is the only player in school history with 50 home runs, 200 RBI, and 300 hits. Drafted by the New York Yankees, Phillips is one of 21 players in Major League history to hit a home run on the first pitch of his first at-bat. Phillips is a former hitting coach for the Crimson Tide. Andy Phillips is today's ultimate Alabama athlete. Calling for change, a Stop the Violence rally forced to stop because of violence. My residents say these actions needed to happen.
See what I mean?
Cameras were rolling Sunday when shots rang out in Shreveport, Louisiana. Folks were at a Stop the Violence rally. It was supposed to be a time for prayer, but it took an ugly turn with gunfire. Police were called, but no one has been arrested. Kamala Harris is officially the Democratic nominee for vice president, and if elected, she and presidential candidate Joe Biden would be expected to respond to the calls for police and criminal justice reform. Ultra Al-Nashar shows us how Harris's stance on the issue has evolved quite a bit over the past 2 decades.
Accepting the Democratic nomination for vice president, Kamala Harris reflecting on the path that got her there.
The fight for justice is a shared responsibility. That led me to become a lawyer, a district attorney, attorney general.
But Harris has a mixed record on policing and criminal justice.
And the Constitution of the state of California.
Landing her with criticism from both the right and the left. Some Democrats point to Harris's record as a district attorney and attorney general as being too tough on nonviolent crime.
So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy.
Nearly a decade later, Harris admitted that move had unintended consequences.
In some jurisdictions, DAs have criminalized the parents.
As a senator, Harris backed more liberal policies, changing her stance to favor federally decriminalizing marijuana, something she opposed years before in California. Republican Senator Ron Johnson.
Well, it sounds like she's been running away from her law and order actions ever since she got into national politics.
Following the death of George Floyd, Harris helped lead the Democratic effort in the Senate on police reform. But President Trump accuses Biden and Harris of enabling calls to defund the police. Though Harris applauded LA Mayor Eric Garcetti when he slashed the city's police budget, she also says this.
We have to stop militarization of police, but that doesn't mean we get rid of police. Of course not.
When Harris is accused of having a contradicting record, she says it's a false choice to either be tough on crime or want to reform the system. Despite the criticism, Harris says she's proud of her record. In her DNC speech Wednesday, Harris not shying away from her roots with the words she's repeated countless times in court.
Kamala Harris for the people.
In Washington, Atra Al-Nashar, NBC 15 News.
The race for the White House is in full gear. Coming up, we're going to take a look at the Democratic strategy and the impact of the DNC. The Democratic National Convention has kicked the 2020 presidential race into high gear. Here's a preview of America This Week with Eric Bowling.
I don't think Joe Biden is fresh or exciting. Do you?
Do I find Joe Biden fresh and exciting? No. What I find fresh and exciting, though, is ending a presidency which has resulted in unnecessary death, a collapse of the economy, disgrace around the globe. I think this is one of those few times where people aren't voting for Biden, they're voting against Trump. And I think that just might be enough. And even the Bernie bros, as you call them, and I was someone who supported Bernie Sanders and endorsed Bernie Sanders. I have never voted for a Democratic nominee. I have voted Green for the last 20 years. And I'm sitting here like, you know what? I need to do whatever I need to do to get Trump out of office. I think there are a lot of people like me.
To see the entire interview, watch America This Week on our website, mynbc15.com. It also airs Saturday night on our sister station, WEAR. Well, stick around. We have another look at your 7-day forecast up next.
Stay updated to what's happening in the tropics and what it may mean for us. And even without that, we've got some halfway wet days ahead.
All right, Alan, thank you. And thank you so much for joining us for NBC 15 News at 10. For the very latest overnight news, be sure to tune in tomorrow morning to NBC 15 Tonight. Good night, everyone. We'll see you back here tomorrow.